Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today, I want to talk about Social Security, or what Senator Paul Mandel calls entitlements, and he also talks about spending in general. This is a very little video, but it starts a lengthy conversation about how and what certain lawmakers want to do with Social Security and Medicare, as well as what they refer to these programs as entitlements. I'll play the video and we'll discuss it briefly after, but before I do, if you could do me two favors, please watch the video and subscribe to the channel, alright? Let me go ahead and play this. As I mentioned before, this is really quick, and it's only happening on Twitter, so let's speak about the disaster that we're about to encounter. All the expenditure, including entitlements, or we will destroy our nation and currency. Alright? That was the clip there, and he says we should basically talk about all the spending. And even entitlements, so in terms of government spending, I agree that Congress spends far too much money and that our government spends too much money, but when it comes to what they refer to as entitlements, the funds for Social Security and Medicare are provided by a separate bank, and the current total of our national debt is either $33 trillion or $34 trillion. That number, correct? They're discussing the general fund, whose spending, I think, is out of control, but when you discuss Social Security and Medicare, which are funded by a separate bank, we're talking about payroll contributions. Mentioning how you contribute to FICA while working FICA is what you contribute to, and the money you do so goes toward paying benefits that individuals are already receiving. As a result, there are currently 70 million people receiving benefits. What he is stating at this time that expenditure is also out of control, meaning that not only the national debt but also the general fund are experiencing excessive spending. Excessive when considering Social Security and Medicare. What's the issue with it? If you claim that spending is excessive, it implies that you wish to eliminate such programs, hence the 70. If the expenditure is out of control, it will affect the millions of people who are currently getting benefits. It's important to note that he is not referring to the money that funds the Social Security Administration budget. Even if they discuss it, they have previously discussed the necessity to reduce spending as well. However, since that money comes from the general fund, you have money that goes out to all the various government departments in order for them to carry out their duties and manage the business in order for funding to come from the general budget. But when we discuss Social Security and Medicare, if you were to discuss reducing the amount of money that goes toward benefits that are funded by FICA contributions, those who already receive those benefits would receive smaller benefits. That is they are limited in what they can discuss, because that is the only thing they are talking about here. They are unable to respond with a firm no, that they will not reduce people's benefits, because doing so would reduce their advantages. That would be necessary, and some lawmakers, Rand Paul perhaps among them, might argue that you should extend the program because the trust funds are running low. There are two options available to you to address the trust fund's declining funds. One significantly reduces Social Security payments. That is one approach. Indeed, if we see it this way, you reduce people's benefits. One way to look at it is that if you cut the trust money in half, they will survive for 20 years rather than 10 years. If you want to take a different approach, legislators are discussing lifting the cap since it is increasing revenue. Individuals earning over $400,000 will still need to pay into FICA since they stop paying after $186,000. Pay, which would increase revenue and extend the program's lifespan. They estimate that this might extend the program's lifespan by 50 to 75 years, so we can consider halving the benefits, which would give us an additional 10 years. Alternatively, we might consider lifting the cap and forcing those who earn more over $400,000 to continue making contributions, or we could just tell them to sit down. The American people, as I mentioned, I should become a politician since this seems to be the most effective way to approach the people and explain that there is a problem with Social Security. We currently have a trust fund with roughly $2.7 trillion, but we're gradually depleting it to pay benefits, so in 10 or 11 years, we could be looking at a circumstance in which that money will be entirely gone, and once it is, we will be faced with a scenario in which there will be a 23% cut in all areas, as well as the greatest course of action for us to take is to increase FICA for all employees across the AB board, meaning that those who are employed now must pay an additional 1% or 2% of their wages, a small amount, but it will ensure that Social Security remains in place for a further 75 years. Most people would consider it reasonable and agree to contribute an additional 1% or 2% as long as they don't see that 23% if you can ensure that I will be able to get my Social Security benefits at 100% in 10 years. Please, that seems reasonable considering the alternative of only making 23% reduction if nothing is done, or having politicians enter the room and declare, "Oh, we're going to prolong it for another 20 years. And then surprise, we might have to decrease benefits to make that happen. Cut it in half to achieve that. So listen carefully to these senators when they discuss entitlements, because we must examine entitlement expenditure. They are arguing that we must make cuts, Social Security income. That is what they are arguing, because there is no other way to look at it if you're claiming that the only way you can look at entitlement expenditure is by looking at recipients. Examine that expenditure and make adjustments by reducing it. Otherwise, you won't be able to look at it and conclude that entitlement spending has to be looked at. Since that's what you know, Rand Paul said that the country is being destroyed by the spending, therefore we should examine it. However, they won't examine the expenditure and conclude, you know what? We're not spending. Not only should we increase our spending on Social Security benefits, they will argue, but they will also examine the spending and conclude that it is ineffective. I'm going to reiterate this once more, and then I'll stop talking about FICA contributions. The money from such contributions goes straight to beneficiaries, not toward paying for salary or anything similar for employees of the Social Security Administration, which comes from a separate fund called the General Fund, which is the budget that the agency receives from Congress each year. That the funds discussed in relation to FICA flow exclusively and directly to beneficiaries, and that legislators wish to appropriate both the trust fund and the FICA funds in order to accomplish this, the $2.7 trillion. And if you want to just consider how it operates, all of that money comes from FICA, which you contribute to each time you receive a salary. FICA. All of that money is deposited into a trust fund, from which benefits are dispersed. However, the funds received by FICA are insufficient to fully finance payments. Additionally, that's the reason they're gradually taking money out of the trust funds. But if you look at the system, some lawmakers want to combine all of that money into one pot. So you have the two trust funds, the General Fund and the Trust Fund, wish to combine their resources into a single pot so they can use it for any purpose they choose. Once they get access to the money, Congress will be able to make significant cutbacks to Social Security. Until legislation is passed to alter the current situation, Congress is unable to make cuts. They may make cuts and say, budget. We hear the budget talks every year. We're going to hear it more and more, if all the money is in one large pot. It is customary for them to have the budget for 2025 by the end of September, so as September draws nearer, we will likely hear about shutdowns. They do this every year, to have the government shut down, because we are unable to agree on how to proceed with the budget and other matters. Currently, the budget is the General Fund, but imagine if they brought we would be looking at a government shutdown and people not receiving their benefits every year if the General Fund had been integrated with Social Security and funded by FICA. As it is, we don't even have that option. Benefits during a government shutdown will still be paid out, and the reason for this is that the money is walled off and won't be frozen. We still go out and pay benefits since it's a need, but I'm curious what you guys think. Please let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll speak with you in the upcoming one.